Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk About It, All the Things. Hi, Whitney.
Hi, Chris.
How are you today?
I'm okay. I'm surprised I'm in a semi-decent mood. Not to put a damper on the episode, but it's my 1 year ago today is when I lost my rabbit. So
Oh,
still kind of working through that, but I'm actually going to be getting a tattoo later today about with him on it.
bunny.
So I think that's probably the only thing holding me steady right now
Oh,
is getting that done.
I'm so sorry.
Because I remember we did a podcast the day after I lost him.
Yeah, we did.
So
Wow.
yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm good. The sun is shining. It's like 70 some degrees. It's amazing. So, I mean, the sun brings out, I think, joy in everyone, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Get some vitamin
It's
D.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing your tattoo.
It's gonna look awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited. All right, so we have two amazing guests. We're very excited to talk to you today. They're from Easterseals MORC. We have Jenny and Joan. So welcome to our podcast.
Thanks.
We are so excited to have you on and talk about all the things. So why don't we start by having you each just talk a little bit about like your role at Easterseals MORC, and we'll roll right into it.
Sounds good.
You go first.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for having us on. My name is Joan Barrett, and I'm a substance use prevention specialist, and I work with at Easterseals MORC in our family services. Easterseals MORC is a really big organization that does a whole lot of really cool things. And Jenny and I work in family services is the division that we work in. So we work with kids and families with behavioral health concerns. So we work with mental health and substance use. My role is substance use. I'm not a clinician. I'm not a therapist or a treatment provider. I'm a prevention specialist, which is super helpful for kids and families because a lot of kids will use substances and they also have some mental health concerns. And so being a prevention specialist allows us to kind of intervene early for kids and families to help educate around substance use, what behaviors kind of can be normal part of adolescent experimentation and exploration, but what can be really harmful. And so we work really closely with lots of kids and lots of families all over Oakland County and other neighboring counties to really hopefully intervene early and often and help kids have really great outcomes and be strong and well mentally. And that's kind of my role with Easterseals MORC. I've been there for about 2 years, but I've done prevention work for a few years longer than that. And before that, I was a teacher. So I've spent my whole career working with kids and families, and I love what I do. So I'm very fortunate.
Awesome. Well,
So real quick before we jump into your role,
Yeah.
and I don't want to forget it, do you see a correlation between the mental health and substance use?
100%. Yeah. And they can both be standalone situations, but they are usually intertwined. And oftentimes, especially in the early young adult population and into adulthood, a substance use can rise to a clinical substance use disorder. And when it is really tangled up with a mental health disorder, it can be even more hard to kind of disentangle them and harder. So the earlier we can intervene, the better outcomes we have, both for what could be a clinical substance use disorder developing, hopefully before it rises to that occasion. So yeah. We can talk more about that as we go along. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to talk more about that.
Yeah.
Because that prevention piece is such an important piece in the work that Joan does.
Yeah.
For sure. So I'm Jenny. I have been with Easterseals MORC for a little over 9 years now. I came to Easterseals MORC as a trauma assessment specialist. We did trauma and developmental assessment for children in the foster care and child protective service systems. And I did that work for about 6.5 years and then transitioned to be a mental health consultant. And initially we were working a lot with the schools and still do, but we were working a lot with the schools in the beginning. And I started really kind of finding my niche in doing trauma-informed care work. And so my role became a little bit more specified and became more global, which is kind of a fun little switch. But I started looking really at a lot of pieces around what does it look like for us as an organization to be trauma informed? What does it look like for some of our community partners for us to work with them on being more trauma informed? And so I think those things all became really important to me and a big part of my role. So the way that my job works is half of my time is spent making sure Easterseals MORC is kind of leaning into that trauma informed care, and half of my time is spent in the community. We're both a part of the community team, and so we spend a lot of our time going out and talking with people, doing presentations, going to resource fair type things, and so that's a big part of it. We also have done a lot of assessing of organizations around trauma-informed care, which is really fun for me. I love getting to talk to people and just like hear their stories and what's going on for them. So that's what I'm doing right now. I love it. We also have some other mental health consultants on our team who are specified in other topics.
Okay.
So we have one who does like group therapy in the schools and in the community. We have one who's focused really on integrated health. And then we have one who's focused on early childhood and works with a lot of our early childhood centers in the different communities, in the different districts, that we work with. And so that has been really cool to see that team grow, and to see that really flourish and to be able to just come alongside our community partners and really help make a difference. So it's been really exciting.
A lot of what we do is community facing.
Yeah.
We reach out into the community, and Easterseals MORC has always done a great job of being a community partner with organizations like yours, and being able to work with our community partners, the schools, school districts, other mental health organizations, to really build awareness in the community around mental health and substance use, destigmatize, do prevention. All of that stuff is our outward facing, and we love that work.
Right. That's right.
And then we also help intervene for kids and families who may need more, who've reached out to Easterseals MORC for help and who are in services. I'd love to tell you a little bit more about Easterseals MORC and how we do work within the community. Like I said, Jenny and I work with kids and families in family services, but we also serve, a lot of people may be familiar with Easterseals MORC in terms of our work with children with physical or developmental disabilities. That's sort of our origins. We've been around for more than 100 years, working in that capacity with children with physical disabilities. We now do a lot of work with children on the autism spectrum, and we have lots of ABA clinics and treatment and programs for families and kids on the autism spectrum.
And actually really exciting, we're building a autism center here in Waterford. It's
state of the art. It's spectacular.
Where's that going to be at?
I believe it's over on Telegraph.
It's
around the 1200 block area.
near that campus with all of the 1200 block with the courthouse and all of the services. It's going to be spectacular.
When is that going to open?
2 years, maybe not next summer, but the summer after.
They just started last year, with
groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking
in the fall, I think. So but we keep getting updates, and we're really excited about that piece. Really working for those super positive early intervention, again, for better outcomes for kids as they grow. So that's a really great piece that we do too. But we also serve, especially after our merger with MORC a few years back, now we really work with the adult population, especially adults with developmental disabilities. We serve senior citizens. We serve the veteran community in unique and specific ways. And we work with adults with behavioral health, mental health, and substance use disorders. So and we also have an amazing infant mental health program for early intervention with really like babies and moms and families at the very earliest stages. So we really do work with families through the entire lifespan. So it
was really cool when we joined with MORC. People would ask me oh, what do you think about this? And I was like, it's just awesome. We now get to treat the entire lifespan, from birth all the way through seniors and geriatrics, and getting to work on the side of behavioral health and on the side of IDD services. It's really exciting to be able to broaden that scope out to the community as far as we can.
And it strengthens our network of resources and connections too. So we really can be helpful to families no matter what they're experiencing.
Yeah. Will you explain a little more what MORC is?
Yeah, I can try.
So it's spelled MORC.
C.
Okay.
I think it's Macomb Oakland Regional Center or Resource Center. I'm so sorry. I should
It
know
was
that.
before.
This is MORC to us. We love them.
Yeah.
They're MORC. And so they have been around for a number of years as well. And it just, the time just got right for combining our two organizations. They work a lot, again, on the IDD side, some with children, a lot with young adults and adults as well. Though.
Intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Yeah, sorry. When I say IDD, I forget.
There's a lot of acronyms.
But yeah, so that has been the big part of their work, and we still have, like, while we are a fully merged organization, there are still programs that specifically work with that IDD population and programs that work specifically with behavioral health. But now we just have ways to work together between those when we need to, and be able to offer services across the board that were more difficult before, just because separate organizations, you have to go through whole new processes. And so it's made it a little bit easier for us to be able to serve people more holistically.
And I came into Easterseals MORC right after the merger, so it's all I've ever known is the sort of the seamless integration. So
That's amazing.
So it's been good.
So I want to jump in a little bit. We've, I know Easterseals just because of my organization, and you guys have been so amazing coming out to some of our community events and talking and, doing, passing out resources to families and all of that stuff. So, but there's so much to what you do. There's, and I want to talk a little bit about the school districts first.
Okay.
Only because I know that probably if families are familiar at all with you, it's because you're within their school district in some capacity. And I don't know if you were doing a lot of that before Oxford or if a lot of that came after Oxford, but can you talk a little bit, I guess, about like what that looks like, being inside of a school district and kind of what services do you provide for kids and all of that stuff?
For sure. So I can give a little bit of that. And Joan, you jump in whenever.
If I need to. I'm sure you got it, Jenny.
So we are in a number of school districts now. We've actually even, the school-based services has even grown into other counties beyond Oakland, which is so exciting for us. We have started connecting with a school in Wayne. There's a whole program of school-based opening up in Macomb and I think in Genesee as well. So it's so exciting for us to be able to make that happen and to be a part of that. The school-based team initially started, we actually were involved with schools before that, and have kind of grown into that a little bit. But the school-based services really initially focused mainly on getting a clinician into the school, being housed in the school to offer clinical services in the school setting for kids who maybe didn't need as high a level of care and who could who needed that connection to happen in that setting. So that was kind of how that initially came about.
It removes the barrier, the physical barrier for students to access mental health care.
That's right.
And it also, again, destigmatizes and builds those partnerships. Having a clinician physically in the school, that's a true partnership, and it allows kids and staff members to more easily access the resources for students, but it also really just destigmatizes the whole thing. Like, this is just what we do. We care about the whole person. So we're right where you are. So that those school-based clinicians physically are in the buildings that school partners have arranged. So that's been a great partnership.
So when I came into the mental health consultant role, they had just started that role, like maybe I think 3 or 4 months before. And it was really based on, again, being in the schools to help provide different trainings, like youth mental health first aid or assist, which is youth mental health first aid is a great program. Assist is looking at suicidality and concerns around that. And so things like that, programs that we could offer to help train, but also being available to consult with teachers around concerns they were having in the classroom with maybe particular students, or being able to offer like help with some crisis management kind of stuff. And so that was a really cool opportunity to come in and say, hey, we see that there's this need of the clinician, and we're trying to fill that. But also now we can see there's ways we can even get at the prevention piece of this. And that became really exciting for us. And so, again, that is some of what the mental health consultant role was brought up to do. And so again, through that now we are able to offer groups in the school, such as seeking
Power.
safe power, power of choice, which we'll talk about in a
Yeah.
second. Seeking safety. There's one called CBITS. There's like all these acronyms again, you know, to help us get to these kids and to the needs that they have. But also just like, I mean, one of the ones that's going on right now at our location, this one isn't in the school just yet, but we're hoping, is an improv group, building confidence in the use of improv, which has been such a cool opportunity. One of our person who does the groups is really, really passionate about that, helping build confidence in that way. So it's fun. We get to be creative and we get to like kind of say, hey, what's the need that we see here? And again, through that process, also we've been able to do some of the assessing of like, hey, where are we at? What is the need that we can help with here? And how can we help fill it, either by us coming in to help through a program like Jones, or by us helping make connections and build those referrals. So
Yeah.
you want to talk about Power of Choice?
Sure, yeah. One of the groups that we offer is a substance use prevention group, and it's called the Power of Choice. And it's a wonderful program for kids who may be using substances, but it's really appropriate for kids that maybe haven't even used. It can be, a universal prevention is what we would call it, but it can be really helpful. And it helps kids understand some of, number one, what are the things they really value in their life and how we work to protect the things that we really value in our life. Kids usually identify, my relationships with my family is really important, or my school is really important, or making my own decisions is really important. And so when we recognize these things are important, then we look at ways that substance use might get in the way of those things and might harm the things that we really care about. It can really increase kids' motivation to make lower risk choices with substances. So if a kid is not using, it kind of strengthens their commitment to not using. If a kid is using, it might encourage them to reflect more thoughtfully and say, maybe I could use less, or maybe I should stop. Mm-hmm. So it can be a really helpful group. And that is a group that we can offer. We can come out to a school and offer it for kids in the school. They don't need to be in services with Easterseals MORC. It's open to anybody. Yeah. We've been able to do that through some grants that have funded that work. So that's been really exciting too, that we've been able to do that. We also offer it for kids that are in services with Easterseals MORC that are receiving. So they may be at a higher level of need and really need this as an intervention. And so that's a great thing that we can do.
One of the things I really love about that program too is another part of our community team that we have was our parent navigators. The title has now shifted to, I think, community
health worker.
Community health worker. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it just shifted like a month or so ago. But they are able to offer a lot of like workshops to parents. Yeah. They don't have to be a part of Easterseals MORC. They don't have to have a child receiving services or anything, but just able to help offer some workshops, again, around anxiety or depression, around 504s, IEPs. But also there is a version that they can do with the parents of kids who are going through the Power of Choice program.
So if your child is using substances, or you suspect they are, or you're just concerned about how do I talk to my kid about substance use, the Parent Power Choice is a great option. And, we love to just work with parents and families with that too. So
I love that.
That is really amazing.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Like I
busy.
Heard, like the first time I heard of Easterseals was when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And it was at a job, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. I didn't know it was that drastic.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, and even within Easterseals MORC, really quick too, because I know when you and I had spoke about like, what are some things we want to say today? Mm-hmm. It was like, what are some of the things people may not be aware of? And within our programs, we have this type of stuff that people aren't always aware of, but even just coming into therapy with Easterseals MORC, we have this piece called the Pathways, where there are different pathways to different services that we offer around trauma, around substance use, around eating disorders, so that like if you have a child who's in services, they can also be a part of this pathway that again creates more holistic kind of treatment around that topic. So like if it's an issue of eating disorder, there are also clinicians we have who can be as a secondary who have trained specifically in eating disorders, and so they are able to get some of those services. They're able to do some little like mini screeners and assessments along the way to see progress and really try and help build these families up. Like, hey, we're getting somewhere with this, you know. And so Joan and I sit in on quite a few of those pathways, and it's been really cool to see the work that they've done and the progress they've made. And again, a lot of people aren't always aware of that, but it's just something that we're doing to try and help again create a system that treats the whole child, the whole family, the whole system. And so I get really excited about that as a kind of systems person. So that's fun for me.
One thing that I think a lot of families don't understand is how do I know if I should reach out for help? How do I know if I should? And then how would I even do it? How do I even go about it? And those are super valid questions. And especially if your child is experiencing or you're noticing some behaviors or some concerning things with your child, and you've never seen it before, it wasn't part of your experience when you were a kid or a teenager, and you don't see it elsewhere in your family or your community. And a lot of times people don't share, you know, everybody posts that social media, the shiny, happy things their kids do, but nobody posts on social media the concerning behaviors that their kids might have. So how do you know when is the right time to reach out for support, and how do you even go about doing it? Number one, I think even asking those questions is a step in the right direction. Just recognizing that you might need support. Nobody doesn't need support as a parent. I'm a parent of 4 young adult kids, and we have been through so many different things, and none of them have had the same concerns. You know, they've all had different needs. And so as a parent with your first child, you may be like, oh, I've solved this problem. I know how to do that. And then child 2 comes along and you're like, I have no idea what this is, and I don't even know where to go.
My mom says I came along to humble them after my
Yes. Oh, that is true. Mine was like progressive humbling. I will to say that over 4, right? But yeah, so reaching out for services is as easy as calling 1-800-75-SEALS, SEALS. 1-800-75-SEALS is our intake number. So anybody can call that number anytime and say, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. I might need help. Right. And somebody on the other end will take that information down, and someone will call back and just talk through it with you and then say, yep, this seems like something we could help with. Right. Easterseals MORC is a certified community behavioral health clinic, a designation we call CCBHC, which is a wonderful, it's a uniquely funded structure that allows anyone to come in through any door and receive whatever they need with a sliding fee scale. So if you have insurance, we will happily take your insurance. If you don't, we will figure out a sliding fee scale to figure out ways to get you supported that your family can afford. So that's also a way to reduce those barriers to seeking treatment. So calling 1-800-75-SEALS is the open door that all families should access. Right. And then once you go through that process of answering those questions and figuring it out, then those teams will be able to support your child. They may need one-on-one work with a therapist. We also have a full staff of psychiatrists, doctors, nurses. Jenny and I talk a lot about the integration now of physical health and mental health, how important that is. I always say so many kids are benefited just by putting down the screens, going for a walk, eating an apple, and drinking a liter of water. As a mom, how about your apple? As a mom, you know, if I have exhausted those 4 things, I've done something really strong for my child. Get rid of the screens, eat an apple, drink some water, and, you know, really just get outside, move around. Yeah. Physical health is so connected to mental health. We know that more than ever. Yeah. But our physical health teams really do support that. So again, a lot of kids our brains, those developing brains are really being impacted by screen time, by lack of exercise, and we need to build those types of things up in families as well. And then when we introduce substances, especially at an early age, that is impacting those developing brains. So we really want to watch that and work in ways to say a lot of kids are using because they feel like it's really helping them.
That's right.
A lot of kids will use for lots of really compelling good reasons, and it does. If I don't want to feel a certain way and I get high, I'm going to not feel that certain way right now. And it's important to validate that.
Yeah.
And there are risks with that that we really have to be aware of. And there are other things we can do that aren't as risky to help us feel better. And that's what we really get to.
Yeah. And I think before I get into any of the neurobiology stuff, because I can really nerd out on that. Like I'm a big fan. But one thing I wanted to say too, around like how do we know when to reach out, right? That's like always a big topic. And I'm gonna admit completely my bias here. I am a therapist. I'm trained as a therapist. I'm an LMSW, licensed mental master's of social work, and I think that everyone should have a therapist. Just across the board, like let's just give everybody a therapist. We can all benefit from it. Mine is wonderful and I love her and I'm so thankful for her. But I think also, so I say that to anybody. If you are feeling like you might need to talk something out, like get a therapist and let's do that.
Do it.
There is no shame in that. There is, like you guys are talking about breaking stigma. I love that. There is no shame in seeking help. We want to encourage that as much as possible. But some of the things that I tell people when they're like, how do I know when? If it's interfering with your ability to get through the day or your child's ability to get through their day, it's time to get some help. It's normal to be sad when grandma passes away, or when we have someone we love that is no longer here. If it's causing us to not get out of bed, we obviously need to get some help, right? If we're crying the entire day long and can't attend to schoolwork or attend to housework or things like that, that's the time we want to start seeking some help. So those things are I always just say when it starts to interfere with our ability to function, we want to get some help. But also, I'm going to use my DBT skills here. And also, we like to talk a lot about, especially in those safety things, anything related to self-harm, any concern around issues of like suicidal thought, that kind of thing, we want to get help right away, obviously. But same is true for substances. If we know that substances are being utilized, we want to get help right away. There are some of those things that are safety issues that, like, as soon as you see them, call somebody, call us, call anybody. At this point, we just want you to get some help. But we would love to be able to offer that help as well. So some of the things, it's like we can see, a child who's more kind of emotional. I was a very emotional child. And so I cried at a lot of things. But you can kind of tell as a parent, the difference between this is like an emotional child and they're getting stuck in that emotion. But again, especially because of the way that screens have really taken over so much for us as adults and for our children, those minds, the brains, the way that they develop, that can really affect the brain's ability to withstand distress at sometimes. And so sometimes even before we hit those points, it's still good to find a therapist, right? Because we want to build those skills before we get to that point. We want to be preventative. We can be responsive, but we want to be preventative as much as possible. And that is a reason that I love the work that Joan and I get to do. We get to help people be preventative so that by the time they get to the therapist, they already have some tools in their toolbox. They already know how to use some of the breathing techniques that calm our vagus nerves, and they already know how to do some of these things. So we're not getting them in the middle of their most distressing moment, trying to teach them that. The brain isn't going to be able to hold on to it as well if we're already in the middle of that really distressing moment. So again, we say everyone come get a therapist. We'd love to. I shouldn't say that too loud because we only have so many people in our
Case Jenny. Case loads.
Search out a therapist.
Well, we want to encourage everyone to seek that help, but also we know that that's not always possible for everyone at every second. So it really comes down to when you see it start to affect their ability to function in life, in their everyday requirements and things like that. That's when we really want to start seeking out some help. But any of those safety things, substance use, any kind of self-harm, we want to seek help right away.
Yeah.
Make sure that we can get in there as soon as possible.
Well, I appreciate that information specifically because as we talked earlier, I have a lot of parents who come to me and they just don't know, like, is it teen hormones? Like, are they just like out of whack
Is
because
it like a natural?
Yeah.
Or is it
or is it something
flagging
else? Yeah. And I think for a lot of parents, it's hard to tell, what's the difference and when do I seek help? So I really appreciate you addressing that.
Yeah.
That's
Now, I've heard
huge.
somebody say, even if you don't think you need a therapist, get one anyway.
I love that. I love that.
Because it's like even when you think you're fine, get
Yeah,
a therapist.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, because we want to, so one thing with trauma and one thing with traumatic stress is that when we're in that space, the brain really can't hold on to information. And so if I'm coming in my most stress and in my most traumatic moment, the brain is going to have a hard time to hold on to any information I'm trying to build or learn. And so it's just going to be about calming first, which is good. We want to figure that out, but it's going to be about calming first, and then I can figure out those skills. If I can figure out those skills ahead of time, it helps to build this kind of resilient bubble that, like, when those traumatic things come at me, they're gonna have more of a bubble to bounce off against. So with resilience, we're really talking a lot about building mastery and feeling like I can do this thing that I need to do. We're looking at having flexible coping skills. Like in different situations, I can use different coping skills to help address my stress in this moment. And we're looking at supportive systems. If we can build those three things before we hit a moment of anxiety or stress or trauma, it's going to really help lessen the effect of that on us as we move forward and seek help. And so, yeah, I'm for that. Anytime we can get people into a good therapy, I'm here for it.
Nice.
I do think it's important, I think, sometimes for parents to recognize that kids can build resilience.
That's right.
Kids can go through difficult things. A family member passes away, or there's a divorce, or there's other losses that could occur. Maybe friendships shift. Like, kids are maybe they don't make a team. Life is hard, and kids have to build the skills to deal with the hard.
Right.
Parents cannot protect kids from the hard. What they can do is build those skills that Jenny was just talking about, a sense of mastery, flexible coping skills, and setting up systems of support so that when the hard comes at us, the kids have some ways to be strong.
That's right.
Not to fall apart and not get out of bed. That is a red flag that the kids need some coping skills, right? But constantly building the messages in your child, you can do this. You are strong, and we are here with you.
Right.
And we are going to, we love you. We want you to be healthy, and we know that you will overcome because we are right here with you.
Powerful.
That's really, that is really what that's what parents need to be building in kids. We can't protect them from the bad stuff, and the bad stuff helps us learn.
That's right.
Like, we learn from getting busted at school because we're vaping at school, right? That's a crappy thing to happen to a kid, and parents don't want that to be their kid's reality. But those are the kids that come to me and take my class, and then they're like, wow, I didn't know, and now I'm going to do something different. That's how we learn. So that's a good thing. And so allowing them to struggle and getting them the support that they need is critical for parents to just kind of let that play out and be there right alongside.
And I think that's really important too, because I think we forget sometimes that development continues throughout our entire life.
Right.
Certain parts of our body develop by certain points in our life, but like, we develop as people all along. And when we're looking at babies, it's easy for us to understand, like, it's maybe a stress for them to learn to walk, but it's also good for them to learn to walk. And so we help them figure out how to do that. We don't like leave them on their own and like, whatever, good luck to you. But like we help them through that process. And I think we forget sometimes that as we grow, we still need people to help us work through that process. This next developmental stage is really tricky for me. How I need someone to help me, like hold my hand as I'm taking my first steps into this. And I think that that's just really important for us to remember that development continues all along. And so even parents like need that. They need people to come alongside them. Even if it's just other parents as a support group,
Absolutely.
That's really important.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that.
Sorry.
So I'm going to jump right in.
All right, go for it. Sorry.
Do you offer like parent support groups? Like, do you offer like groups where parents can come in and sit together? Because this is the other thing that I see and hear all the time is that parents feel like they're the only ones, right? That their child is the only one struggling and they don't know what to do. And, I feel like that would be an amazing piece, to be able to talk to other parents and be like, oh, I'm not the only one.
So we do have one that I know of at least called Parents Supporting Parents. Okay. It is a support group that our community health worker does with some of our parents. I'm not sure. I should have maybe checked before we came. I'm not sure if she has one going right now, but I know it's something that we are able to offer if we have enough people who are interested and sign up and attend. So that's really the key thing. I know that when she did it last year, I had a chance to talk with her and it was a really cool experience for them. They get to kind of help pick the topics and like what's important to you to talk about right now. And they can, Peggy is the one who helps run it. She can help bring in like some of different clinicians if they want to talk about something specific like ADHD or anxiety or, eating disorders or cutting or something like that. We can bring in different professionals to help have that conversation.
Yeah. One of the groups that we offer also is called Strengthening Families. Yeah. And it is a family-based group modality where your entire family comes. And it's like 11 weeks, 11 sessions. So it's not a small commitment, but so if your child is in service, working with a therapist, your child, the other family members, whoever's living in the home with that child, everybody comes in. We have dinner together. We practice having dinner together. We practice having great conversations around the dinner table. And then the kids go to one room, the adults go to another room, and they each learn some new communication skills. And then they come back together to figure out how do we make this live in our family for the next week. So some of the activities we do in those sessions are around bonding, because I'm going to be really honest, we kind of need to rebond with our children when they're like 13, 14, because it's easy to love a little snuggly toddler in PJs, right? We love them. And then they're 14 and they tell us what we can do, and they throw things across the room and they slam the door. And so we really need to build some play back into those adolescent relationships. Sometimes we work on things that might be fun to do, ways to reconnect with our kids if we've kind of lost that, which it happens in families all the time. It's hard, it's stressful. And we work on communication skills, how that teens or younger kids can communicate effectively with parents, and parents can communicate, how we work together to set up what boundaries we have in the family. And then they go home and practice it for the week, and we come back and talk about it next week. How did that go? It's a powerful intervention, but it's a commitment of a family. Yeah. And I love that it's called Strengthening Families. It's not called messed up families. It's not called hot mess families. That's right. The greatest family in the world can still be strengthened. Right. So it doesn't matter what's going on. It's wherever you're starting, we will find ways to help build that strength. And I love that modality. That group is a really great group. So
one thing I'll put out to like any of your listeners, see if we get any bites on this. We've also talked about doing a like over the summer, having some kind of group where we do like a book club around the book, The Anxious Generation, which I know a lot of parents are into right now. Yeah. It's a great book. I really have enjoyed it. But having like a parent book club kind of group like that, where we have that time for the parents, and while they're doing that, the kids are learning some non-electronic kind of socialization. And so we've talked about throwing something like that out. So I'll just put it out there if anyone is interested, and you give us like some, hey, we're interested. We may open up some more things. But this is where it gets fun. We get to be creative.
We're really
and
creative.
See what's the need
Yeah.
and how can we fill it.
Yeah.
And that is a great book. I have several friends who have read it or are currently reading it. And yeah.
So
That's
anyway,
a great idea.
just throwing out other ideas there.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're interested in that, give them a shout or us and we'll pass it along.
Yes. Yes.
Let's take a quick time out to talk about our amazing sponsor of Let's Talk About It, Town Mortgage. Founded in 1982, the Town Mortgage family of companies has more than 40 years of experience in the mortgage industry. They are passionate about their customers, their company, and the communities they serve, as Town is actively involved with many nonprofit organizations. Their community outreach initiatives are not just a side effect of their business, it's at the heart of it. They are first and foremost a local lender. However, their commitment extends beyond outreach to the products they offer. And On a Dragonfly's Wings is proud to be one of the many charity partners associated with Town Mortgage. As a full-service lender, they manage every aspect of home financing in-house. Because their process is consultation-driven, they have the unique opportunity to educate borrowers each step of the way. By forging these relationships, they ensure their confidence and security from application to closing and beyond as they service most of the loans they originate. This means a lifelong commitment to borrowers. Their business is not fueled by sales, but by their desire to provide solutions tailored to clients' financial futures. For more information about Town Mortgage, please visit Town, Towne, Mortgage, MORTGAGE.com. Thank you, Town. Yeah, you guys, I mean, I knew you did a lot.
That's a lot. And I don't even think you touched half of it.
Yeah, you're just like tip of the iceberg.
We've gotten into a lot of different things. But
Easterseals is not only based in Michigan, is it?
so Easterseals is a national organization, and they are in a bunch of other states. Ours is just the Michigan branch of it. So we're sort of our own 501c3. We're our own standalone entity. Yeah, but we're affiliated.
We do have
national.
connection with national.
Yeah.
And here in Michigan, we're in Grand Rapids area, and then we're in Flint. We're a couple places in Oakland, a couple places in Wayne, and a couple places in Macomb. That's kind of our main spaces. We have connections to other programs throughout the state, like in Saginaw, or even up in the UP. We've had connections up there before, and so we as Easterseals MORC are kind of concentrated in the lower half of Lower Michigan. But again, those connections help us build some of these services availability out beyond just us.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting.
So May is Mental Health Awareness.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So does Easterseals MORC have, I'm sure you do, do you have any like big events or like groups or like anything planned for the month?
We do, actually. I'm one of the Mental Health Awareness Month champion people. They just gave us some of the info yesterday, though, so they're still putting it out there. So definitely be checking our social medias. That's where they're going to put a lot of it. There's one thing in particular I think is going to be so fun, but they said that we're holding tight on it.
Ooh.
Until
You can't share.
I think it's going to be really fun, and it has ways to like benefit everybody. You can like win prizes, and it's really it's going to be fun. But our phrase this month in May is going to be grow through what you go through.
Ooh.
And so what we're really trying to encourage people to understand with that phrase is it's not a command. We're not saying you better grow through these things. It's an invitation to say, hey, you can grow through this. You can get stronger through this. This is not the end of this story for you. And I think it's really a lovely idea to put out there to say, to help people kind of understand that growth piece through what we experience, and not just kind of fall into the pit of an experience, but to say, I can experience this, I can acknowledge it, I can feel it, and I can grow in a way that's going to make me stronger in the future. And so I'm really excited about our offering that this next month, and I've kind of been working with them on how we talk about it in trauma-informed ways. But I think that it has a lot of benefit to everyone that we serve. That like we can grow in adversity, and we can grow through it. And so I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be really good.
You can follow our stuff on Eastersealsmorc.org is our website. And that's a great way to learn anything more about any of our programs for any part of the lifespan.
Facebook is going to be a big one in May. That's where they're going to be posting a lot of these activities or things that we have going on, and extra information. So yeah, we'll
give you some links for your show notes and all of that, right? Yeah.
Very exciting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, be looking out for Grow Through What You Go Through.
Okay.
This next month.
Yeah, I feel like every year Easterseals MORC does something very, very, very cool. I remember, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, you guys did the mental health boxes, and you had to, I know I had to like submit my email or something, and then like I was actually mailed a box.
Cool.
Yeah. It was like filled with all these like coping mechanisms. Like there was a water bottle in there, and there was a journal, and there was like a free online like workout thing you could subscribe to for a month. Like it was like all these different things.
Tools and resources.
That's what I just thought, wow, like that was really, really cool. And I know that I think a lot of it was, donated from large corporations and things to put in that box, and that was really fun.
So we do have some donations that came in for this activity round. So I'm just going to tell people it's going to be fun.
Well, it sounds like everyone better follow them on social media.
I think it's going to be worth it. It'll be a good time.
I'm just jealous because Jenny's in the loop. She's a legit champion. I'm just out here going, okay, that's great.
Well, I will say really quickly, I know we're kind of coming to our time here, but I'll say really quickly, when I first heard the phrase, I was like, oh, what are we trying to say here? And like, how do we say this in a way that people hear it as that invitation instead of a command? We want it to be an invitation. We want people to know that to grow is so beautiful, and it's so empowering, and it has just such a significant ability to help us heal. And again, it helps us become more resilient as we walk forward. And so it is for us a point of empowerment, more than anything, and just so beautiful.
I love it. I think it's amazing phrase, and I definitely resonate with that. I think it's kind of cool too because it's springtime, right?
Yeah.
So everything is
growing.
So it's kind of a cool theme to wrap into even just the season of growth and change.
I agree.
Those things, and
you see everything that looked really dead a few months back. And it's not anymore.
No,
there's all that growth
to life.
Yeah.
So
renewal is always happening.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting. I'm very excited about all the things you have planned that I don't know about. All right. So Whitney, do you have any other questions for Jenny or Joan?
I think I had other questions, and then you could turn around and answer it before I said it. So I think you covered a lot of it, and it's fantastic.
We do. I mean, we love what we do.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to both of you for coming out and talking to our peeps out there. Just because I know that everything you shared is really going to help our parents and our families. We hear this all the time. So, so yes, now you have a resource, everyone. You have a resource. So make sure.
All right. So once again, your phone number is
1-800-75-SEALS is our intake number. Okay. So that's the open door for anyone that might be looking for support anywhere along the lifespan. We've talked a lot about kids and families, but again, anybody.
Okay. And your website once more.
Eastersealsmorc.org.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So check them out.
Absolutely.
I'm just shocked by all of it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Wonderful.
Excellent. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you. We're
Thanks,
so
guys.
grateful that you came out.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for
Appreciate
all that you're doing out in the
Yes.
community too.
Yes.
We can work together. Love that.
We love the stigma breakers. It's good.
Yeah.
We're trying, aren't we?
We're trying hard, yes.
I love it. That's great. That's great.
All right. Well, before we wrap up,
Yes, I almost forgot.
yes, we're reminding
Yes.
each other.
Yes,
So this is our second to last episode
season 3.
of season 3.
Oh dang.
I know. So we keep saying it every season how fancy we are, but
Right.
so
It just keeps growing and growing.
it
See? Growing.
does. Yeah,
Growth. It's good.
Right?
It's good.
So we have one more podcast episode coming mid-May.
Yep.
And then we will be taking a little hiatus until end of August. We will be back, and we've already started to get our lineup of guests, and we are so excited for season 4.
Yes. So all of June, all of July will be gone, and then the first half of August.
Yep. So make sure that you don't forget about us.
Yeah, no.
Tune in the end of August, and we promise we're going to have
It's a great lineup.
yeah, really, really amazing. And we're going to keep it a secret too.
All
So
right.
see, you have secrets, we have secrets.
Build
So-
anticipation.
Right. So you have to come back the end of August to find out what we have coming up now.
All right.
Love it. Love it.
All right. Anything else, Whitney?
I don't think so.
All right. Then we'll catch you
On the flip side.
This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We are just your friends. Whitney and I are not licensed therapists, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional.